I was in my office, finishing the final draft of a report, when my phone lit up. One missed call. Then another. And another. Within minutes, my screen was filled with a flood of missed call notifications, 108 calls in total. All from an unknown number. At first, I thought it was a glitch, or maybe some telemarketing scheme gone mad. But before I could block the number, a single message appeared on my screen. Leave immediately and get home. My throat went dry. No sender name, no context. Just that one chilling sentence. I hesitated for a moment, torn between reason and fear. But something about the sheer persistence of those calls gnawed at me. Against my better judgment, I grabbed my bag, shut down my computer, and rushed out of the office. The drive home felt endless. Every traffic light turned red, every lane seemed blocked. My eyes kept darting to the rearview mirror, half expecting to see someone tailing me. When I finally reached my apartment, my chest tightened. The door wasn't locked. I was certain I had locked it before leaving in the morning. Inside, everything looked normal at first glance. But then I saw it on the living room table, neatly placed side by side, 3 envelopes. Each was sealed, addressed simply to me. My fingers trembled as I picked up the first envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper, typed in neat, bold letters. Don't trust the next letter. Confused, I tore open the second envelope. It read, "The first letter is lying. The danger is closer than you think." I froze. My heart pounded in my ears. Which one was telling the truth? I reached for the third envelope, my palms slick with sweat. This one was handwritten, unlike the other 2. The shaky scrawl said, "Both are distractions. Look behind you." My breath caught. I spun around instantly, expecting someone to be standing there. The room was empty. My curtains swayed slightly, though the windows were shut. I tried to calm myself, convincing my mind it was just some elaborate prank. But then I noticed something I had overlooked: my bookshelf. A small slip of paper was sticking out from a thick novel I hadn't touched in years. I pulled it free. It was another note. "You have 24 hours. The 108 calls were a warning. They know what you did." My mouth went dry. What I did? I racked my brain, trying to remember any secret, any hidden misdeed someone could use against me. Nothing came to mind. Unless... My phone buzzed again. Another unknown message. The letters were only the beginning. "Check under your bed." My stomach lurched. I walked slowly into my bedroom, each step heavier than the last. Kneeling, I lifted the edge of the blanket and peered underneath. There was a small black box. Inside it lay a single key, old and rusted. Attached was another note. "This opens the door you've been avoiding your whole life." At that moment, my phone rang again, just once this time. I stared at the screen. It wasn't an unknown number anymore. It was my own number calling me. I stared at my phone, frozen. My own number flashing across the screen. The ringtone echoed in the silence of my apartment like an alarm bell in a crypt. My thumb hovered above the green icon. Against every instinct screaming, "Don't," I answered. "Hello." My voice cracked. No reply. Just faint static, and then a whisper. "The key isn't for a door in your house. You already know where it belongs." The line went dead. I stood there, shaking. Already know? My mind raced. Then, like a jolt, a memory hit me. The abandoned property my late uncle left me years ago. A crumbling house on the edge of town I had never stepped foot in. I'd always avoided it. Something about it unsettled me, even before he passed. The key. That must be it. By nightfall, I found myself driving through empty streets, the black box clutched tight in my hand. The address had been gathering dust in my memory, but somehow my car seemed to know the way. The house appeared like a shadow from the past, 2 stories of decayed wood, windows boarded, roof sagging like the spine of an old man. I parked. The silence here was heavier, oppressive. Even the crickets refused to sing. The key slid perfectly into the rusted lock on the front door. With a loud groan, the door creaked open. The stench of mold and damp earth rushed out, but something else too, a faint metallic tang like blood. Inside, the air was stale. Dust swirled in my flashlight beam. But the strangest thing was the table in the center of the room. Upon it, neatly arranged, were 3 more envelopes. My pulse quickened. I hadn't told anyone I was coming here. The first envelope read, "You're late. The others arrived before you." The second, "Don't trust anyone who calls you tonight." The third, "Look upstairs. Room at the end of the hall." I wanted to turn back, to lock the door and drive away forever. But something compelled me forward. I climbed the staircase, each step groaning under my weight. At the end of the hall was a door slightly ajar. My flashlight flickered. Inside, the walls were covered in photographs, my photographs. Pictures of me at work, at home, even asleep in my bed. Hundreds of them, taped and pinned in chaotic layers. In the center of the room was an old rotary phone, sitting on a small table. It rang once, shrill and sudden, making me jump. With trembling fingers, I picked it up. A distorted voice said, "Now you understand. They've been watching you. But the real question is, why do you deserve it?" Before I could speak, the line cut. Then I noticed something else, an open envelope lying next to the phone. Inside was a single sheet of paper. The 108 calls weren't warnings. They were counts. "You've run out of time." Behind me, the floor creaked. Someone else was in the house. The sound was unmistakable, floorboards bending under a weight that wasn't mine. I froze, every muscle locked. My flashlight beam trembled across the walls of photographs. "Who's there?" My voice cracked, swallowed by the silence. No answer. Then another creak, closer this time. I stepped backward, my heel brushing against the rotary phone. It fell to the floor with a sharp clatter. The noise echoed through the house like a gunshot. Suddenly, a shadow flickered across the doorway. Someone was standing there. My flashlight caught only a glimpse, a tall figure in a long coat, face obscured by a hood. The figure didn't move, didn't speak, just watched. My heart thundered. "Why are you doing this?" I demanded, my voice shaking. The figure slowly raised a hand. And it was a phone, my phone. The very one I thought was in my pocket. I checked. My pocket was empty. Cold dread stabbed through me. They tossed the phone onto the floor between us. The screen lit up. A single message appeared. "You shouldn't have come here alone." Before I could react, the figure stepped aside, as though inviting me deeper into the hall. At the far end, another door creaked open by itself. From the darkness beyond, a faint glow pulsed like candlelight. I hesitated, then picked up my phone and followed, my instincts torn between escape and the need to know why. The room beyond was smaller, almost like a study. In the center stood a wooden chest, ancient and scarred. Its lid was slightly open, the faint glow seeping from inside. The figure stopped at the threshold, never entering, never speaking. Just watching. I took a step toward the chest and lifted the lid. Inside, neatly stacked, were dozens of envelopes identical to the ones I'd already received. Some opened, some still sealed. On top was a letter marked in bold red ink. "For when he finally arrives." My hands shook as I unfolded it. The letter read, "You are not the first. The 108 calls are the signal. Each chosen one comes here eventually. Some leave. Most don't. The watcher decides." I looked up. The hooded figure was gone. The room felt heavier, the glow from the chest growing brighter until it filled my vision. Then my phone rang again. One ring. 2. 3. This time, the caller ID didn't show unknown. It showed my name. And beneath it, the words, "Answer or join the others." My thumb hovered over the glowing screen. My own name stared back at me like a mirror I wasn't ready to look into. "Answer or join the others." With a trembling breath, I pressed accept. "Hello," I whispered. This time there was no static, no distortion. Only a calm, steady voice, familiar yet impossible to place. "You finally made it," the voice said. "You kept ignoring the signs, the calls, the letters. But you're here now. Who are you?" I demanded. "What is this?" "You already know," the voice replied. "You were one of us once. Before you forgot." I stared at the walls of the study, at the photographs, the envelopes, the glow from the chest. Something shifted inside me. Flashes of memory I didn't know I had began surfacing. A long table in a dim room. 12 strangers sitting around it. A ritual of envelopes, keys, and calls. A vow I had taken and broken. My breath hitched. I was part of this. Yes, the voice said softly. The chosen ones are not victims. They are witnesses. Each of you is selected to watch the world without being seen, to keep secrets safe. But you walked away and now you're being called back. I gripped the phone tighter. And the Watcher? A pause. Then the voice said, the Watcher isn't a person. It's the role. One of you becomes it when another leaves. The Watcher keeps the ledger, keeps the count. The 108 calls were not a warning. They were a summons. You're next. The glow from the chest flared brighter, spilling over the edges like liquid light. Inside, the envelopes began to hum softly, vibrating. I stepped back. I'm not going to be part of this, I said. I never agreed. You did, the voice interrupted. You just don't remember. The letters were to remind you. The house was to bring you home. And now you must choose. The room shifted. The photographs peeled from the walls and floated toward me, spiraling in the air like leaves caught in a storm. They formed a circle on the floor at my feet, a circle of every moment I'd been watched. Inside the chest, something moved. A thin, black notebook rose from the pile of envelopes, its cover blank except for a single word, ledger. The voice spoke one last time. If you open the ledger, you accept the role. If you walk away, the Watcher will find another, but you will never be unseen again. The line went dead. I looked at the ledger, at the swirling photographs, at the empty doorway where the hooded figure had stood. My hands shook as I reached out. For a moment, the glow dimmed, waiting for my decision. I touched the book. The glow burst into 1,000 shards of light. The photographs vanished. The chest sealed itself shut. And in my mind, a flood of memories poured in. Every secret I had ever seen, every person I had ever watched, every truth I had been sworn to protect. I was no longer being watched. I was the Watcher. The moment my fingers closed over the ledger, everything inside the old house dissolved. The walls, the dust, the photographs gone. I was no longer standing in a crumbling room, but in a vast, dark space where faint points of light floated like stars. Each light flickered, pulsed, and dimmed, as if breathing. And I understood. Each point of light was a life. Every envelope, every call, every photograph, all pieces of their stories, their secrets. The Watcher didn't just observe. The Watcher held the truth of everyone they touched. A voice, my own voice, whispered in my head. You are the eyes now. You will see what is hidden. You will guard what is unseen. You will never be known. The ledger opened by itself. Its pages were endless, filled with names, times, and events stretching into the future as well as the past. I could feel them like threads between my fingers, lovers lying, friends betraying, governments conspiring, strangers crying in the dark. And I saw my own name at the very top of the page, already crossed out. Beneath it, in fresh ink, a single word appeared. Watcher. I was no longer in the world. But the world was in me. When I blinked, I was back in my apartment, sitting at my table. Everything looked exactly as I'd left it, except the 3 envelopes were gone. In their place sat the black ledger, closed and silent. My phone lay beside it, dark and cold. Through the window, the city moved as it always had. People rushing. Cars honking. Life spinning on. No one looking up. Yet I could feel them all now. Their secrets brushing against my mind like whispers in a crowded room. I could open the ledger and know who would betray, who would suffer, who would rise. But the knowledge came with an ache, the kind only someone who sees too much can feel. My phone vibrated once. A single notification. Welcome back. No sender. No number. I closed my eyes and inhaled deeply. I wasn't just one of the chosen anymore. I was the one who chose. And somewhere out there, someone's phone would soon ring 108 times. Their journey to the house would begin. And I would be watching. Always watching.